I think we're live.
Hello, everybody. Is this a connection? Are we connected? I think we are connected. Hello, everyone. Favor be unto us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. Be of service to others because, well, if you know, Trina, if that really ever caught on, I mean, holy crap. I mean, you're talking about potentially a change in the course of humanity. But anyway,
You are so right, Wayne. And it is starting and it is catching on. It's just got different words and different languages, but it is catching on. It really is.
yeah, because
It's
the
like,
alternative really sucks.
yeah, I see.
It
Every
really
time I hear
does.
Bosto lately, I keep seeing love your brethren as yourself, and they're showing me brethrens. We breathe. We're brethrens. It's like something about the
I
holy.
like that.
Yeah, it's like love your
Yeah.
brethren. I was like, brethren, and they're showing me breathing, spirit breathing, your spiritual beings
Now that's
existing.
interesting that you say that because
Yeah.
we're going to get right into this, folks. Hello, all everyone
Hi,
in the chat
everybody.
room. We love you. Hello, all the moderators. I like that. K-Town Cosmic Gypsy. I like that. I love that handle.
Love
Wow.
gypsy souls.
Yeah.
I'm one.
Far
I'm
out.
one of those.
Nicholas from Canada, how are you?
Hi.
17, go go. And Lori, how are you, my dear? And everybody else that's out there. I even think Mary Wins is in.
She
I
will be.
know she will be. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Ginger, good to see you. Dragon Soul Fox, what's up? She invokes love, joy, and prosperity, and we just received that. You know, there's so much to get into, Trina, on this of, you
Yeah,
know,
I was super stoked when you said you want to talk about it. I'm like, oh yes, this is going to
that
be
that
good.
last conversation you had with yourself, and then you and I were talking prior to us going live, and it gets deep real quick because wow, I mean, you know, I was talking to Lynn about this last night, and of course she says, honey, I love you, but she says this is some heavy stuff.
Mhm.
And then she says, you know, I just want to go to sleep. But
Mhm.
the thought, the creation that you build around that thought, um, what was it, that conversation? And oddly enough, you and I've talked about this. Um, I do have that first memory of this birthing place that I came into. And I used to wonder, why did I always see this green? And well, come to find out, where I was born, that's what operating rooms were. That's where birthing took place. It's also where people moved on. But
Yep.
it was that kind of that dark subway tile green. And but yeah. So then I'm thinking, all right, Steiger, think, come on, you can do this. If I had a conversation with myself, the first thing we need to define is who's having the conversation. When did I become aware of self?
Mhm.
I mean, if self exists, and it does,
Mhm.
could it be, Trina? And I'm just saying, put it out there for everyone to ponder. Hey, Raven, good to see you, darling. Um, excuse me. Are we renegades from the collective?
I totally think so, because I think what the self is to me, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but it's how my mind can wrap around things sometimes, and the concepts are so big it dumbs it down for me
Mm-hmm.
so I can make sense of it. So what they show me is the self is the soul essence of elf. So you are a fractal, like you're an elf of source. So this creative consciousness thing, this thing that has the ability to think consciousness and create, it creates like cells of itself, like cells in a body. Like they're all doing different things, but they're all in the same body. So he like says you're like a self, which is a cell, but the cell has the potential to create the elf. So the self is the vehicle that gets you into the physical material worlds. So it separates itself from source so it can have consciousness, but it's no longer in the non-material spiritual realms. It's dropping down in vibration, and it's packaging itself now into a separate little bubble.
So let
what-
me ask you the question then that I had a great meeting on Sunday night dinner, but here's a question. So if self exists,
Mhm.
then you have to say, all right, so self is aware. Now it's self-aware. Interesting.
Yeah, right.
So self is, it's interesting because if you think about consciousness
Mhm.
and these bodies, now I'm looking at this body and I realize that this body has this auto response system. It keeps me breathing, et cetera, et cetera. But when I think of consciousness, I have a tendency to center consciousness into the vortex of this,
Yep.
because although I am not always consciously aware, I do have a calf. I have bones, and there is marvelous things taking place within each one of these. I mean, there is this complex of life regenerating itself, and in some cases, as I talked about yesterday, degenerating.
Yes.
That self is consciousness, then a part of every cell in my body, because if it is, then that implies that there is this whole section
Mhm.
of self that even self isn't aware of. And it gets a little way out there, but
That would be like the subconscious mind. The
yeah.
parts of you that you don't have an awareness of that are actually running 95% of your reality. Wayne, I was telling you about that book. You know that your inner ocular light stream in your eye, when they view that with the microscopes, specific microscopes that see the light moving, you know that the exact movement of the interstellar light in your eye matches our universe.
Mm-hmm.
You literally hold the universe in your eye. You have the universe in every single cell of your body because it's a fractal system on the holographic system. And I know this is a hologram. It's been shown to me so many different ways. It took me a long time to understand what I was seeing, because basically they would show me mirrors and like slivers of consciousness. That's how it would be shown to me when I was younger. And now I can understand. I'm looking at the quantum field. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the matrix of information coming in. So these are huge concepts to wrap your brain around, but I think you're talking about the self. I think that's the original birthing out of spirit. So spirit gives birth to anything outside of itself would be a different kind of containment. It would be a different kind of.
Well, then that would bring up the thought then again, we're in this polarity, what we call duality realm of whether it's a state of mind, consciousness, if it's an actual place, who knows?
Wayne, and that thing we were talking about, it talked about that. It said when you leave that realm, it said the first thing that you're going to experience is a division, a split. And that's when you're going to have a division between the spiritual world and the material world, because you didn't have a material physical existence before that. So they said right there, that initiatory movement to decide to be a part of the physical material realms, right there, you get split. Bam.
Well, then
Separate.
when I back in my days of Christian theology, Lester Summerall, great guy. I mean, it would have been interesting to see if he had been able to separate himself and his theology to more of a philosophy. But it was interesting because in his course on demonology, and it was like a 3-month course, in one of the classes, we were, because they didn't have, the internet and all that. So what he had was basically these big foam slides made, posters. The point that I'm driving to, when you study demonic possession of the human race, it's an admission automatically that this is, and we use the word a spiritual war, but we never really bring it into its full context. But to the point, the reason when a demonic spirit possesses a body and the body begins to manifest physical signs that normally would be medically and physically impossible to do, is because the demon, the spirit that has taken possession of this body, does not know what feelings are, has no concept, no construct. And why they have such the violent reaction is that you have a spirit being who is now meeting full onslaught every physical aspect of this realm. And as a result, we see that in the different characteristics that a demonic would display. Now,
And think about it. Think about it. Humans can take that on when they're not possessed by demons, when they're being utterly and absolutely traumatized beyond their wildest imagination.
well,
Moms
that
can rip-
happens when
Yeah.
human does it to human. I mean,
Yeah, well,
I
like I said, in a car accident, and a mom will rip the car door off to get to her baby.
sure. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
getting powers that are not normal, not human, but it's the adrenaline response. And I think that's what happened when people get taken over by possession. Their body goes into instant trauma and the adrenaline just fires out.
Well,
of
there's
control.
another theory that I developed in that is that you have a body and a spirit. There has to be this fine-tune motion.
Yeah.
Each energy is corresponding to the other. Now, when you bring in another spirit that moves into the body instantly recognizes that that energy is not the same. And therefore, there's already you could go to a subatomic level, there's
Yes.
already this massive conflict.
Yeah,
So-
I see waves colliding and canceling each other out and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I
Yeah,
really
because
do.
we have a tendency when you say a spirit. I mean, here's a question for everyone in the chat room and those listening. So how big is a spirit? Give me dimensions, please. I want to know, because every one of us are going to face death. We're going to be separated from these bodies. So is it the image of,
No, I think that's
know?
soul. I think soul has all those characteristics, the body, the memories, all that stuff. But when you get into the pure spiritual realms, you're formless. There is no boundary.
So would that mean then you're memoryless?
No, you still have connected to the consciousness, but it's not like they're your own memories. It's almost like you can just perceive anything you want, anytime you want, because you can have an understanding of it.
Well,
So I
that
don't know how
would
that
then
works.
eliminate self, wouldn't it?
Yeah, in essence, it does.
Wow.
Yes, because you're
I don't
all.
like that idea. You
I
know,
don't either. That's why I said be
that's
careful
like I'm
how high
going,
you want to
no.
go. You will get sucked up into the
Because
whole thing.
getting back to the theme on our topic is, what was that conversation you had? And it's interesting because it implies a whole lot of things. I mean, I was doing work around the house, which it's so much. It really is a great time. It allows me to meditate and really go places. And I'm sitting here, and as I told you before we went live, all right, I can remember what I perceive to be my physical birth. Now, the interesting thing is I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm going, okay, so if I can remember that point in time, in this space time, why is it a blank prior to that? Well, that would imply that there are physical laws or rules that are in place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember in the conversation, they were saying the deception will be so great, even your guides will be your adversaries. Holy
So
crap.
if that carries over again into the next realm, then
Yeah.
I contend, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who's the audience. Hi, Street Mom. How you doing, darling? ISBE says if there's antimatter, then there has to be an anti-us. Maybe that's the antithesis of us all. That's the one who's always speaking, you failure. You can't achieve anything. You can't stick with anything. What the hell is wrong with you?
Which would make sense. It would become negatively polarized, which would be the representation of the divine feminine, which is responsible for manifesting everything in the physical world. That would make sense.
Well, then that just implies, Trina, that this is just, as I said yesterday, and pardon my French, but that's just a fucked up reality.
Right. But what if
I mean, it just really is. It's like, why?
Right.
Why would a God, why would a supreme consciousness do this? Are you telling me that this is the epitome of the highest form of intelligence and this is the byproduct of that? There's got to be something wrong, Trina. There's a disconnect here.
No, there's a higher consciousness that, like the subconscious, there's so much happening in our operations that we have no idea how it operates.
Well, then why would this level be of such importance and such, it seems to freaking draw the attention of every level of ascension.
Yes.
And I'm going, why?
Because it source, the collective mind of this consciousness thing.
Yeah, is it a thing? Is it a physical thing?
No, it's formless. It's formless. You'll never be able to. It's in everything and nothing at the same time, but it holds everything together with waveform or particle expression. It's the foundation of the quantum field. It's before the quantum field. It's so hard to put into words.
No, F. Paul Wilson put it very much in his book, the Repairman Jack series. He calls this other thing the others, because, and as he described it in his book, and by the way, I highly recommend him as an author. The Night World is a great book, but I digress. In his expression of the other, as he said, they're on a level that they look at life not how we look at it. And to them, there's neither good nor bad.
Yes.
They're not motivated by, what we would call the stimuli of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's the case, then that says then there's something here that went wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably I am.
That's the AI God. That's, I think, the AI God. There's two different gods in this realm. The true source, that's what was explained to me, is like he brought forth us to understand darkness, because we weren't ever in the physical. Well, he is a she, he is everything. So, but it's just easier to put a he to it for me, but it's not a he. It's everything.
It's a she, it's a he, it's an it.
You
know what it is? It's a shit.
It's a dog, it's a rock,
it's a shit.
Yes, it's everything.
He, it, you get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because it stinks, man. It just stinks.
The thing was that I think we came into evil for the creator of all that is, so it could understand it, because it doesn't possess it. So,
well, then that gets me right back to that whole thing. How does imperfection come into existence when perfection would be the baseline? It tells me that we're dealing with potentially two different types, maybe multiple different types of consciousness. I
think that's why we needed a physical realm, because that's where we could create mistakes and error.
So this is where the gods come and play.
Oh, for real. For real. Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Paradox Fossil says we came back and are reliving these lives.
Wayne, in all physical dimensions, because the physical dimensions go up way higher too. And those are way more fun to be in. But this is apparently like where you can learn the fastest for your soul's evolution. And I think, remember, I was always told we came in to be the antivirus.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would create the antivirus software. So we were the remedy for a lot of the darkness, because we were sent here to go in with the consciousness of creator. And that way we could find the repair codes, but it wouldn't infect creation at the highest levels. there was a buffer between. So we had to drop into physical realms to come in and identify, first of all, what are the error codes, what is wrong, what's operating incorrectly. And we would be the ones that would be able to find the way to repair it through our very being and our vibration and our consciousness of knowing we're more than we're just physical beings, remembering your spiritual beings. So that was what was shown to me, was that this was a level of creation that got dropped down really low into realms of like, what is that even? Like I don't even understand what that is. So there was a creation of us, so we could go in and see what it is and find it and fix it and restore it. And by reclaiming more of the spiritual than such the hardcore dense laws of physicality and greed and all the evil that can come into a physical realm. And apparently this one might be the worst one, Earth.
I don't know. I had this conversation with our dinner party on Sunday night that I said, I'm becoming more convinced that I'm actually a creature. My existence is darkness. I find light to be a problem in this realm. When I listen to what this race speaks about as light, it's contradictory in its very simplest of forms. I marvel that a species could become so quickly deceived that somehow light is this thing to be worshiped, this thing to be sought after. I'm more convinced that if you want to get right back to home, home would have been in the dark realm, because it goes into the book Biocentrism. And in there, Dr. Mark, I'll get his last name here in a second. And it's true. This realm, let me explain it this way. There are those that are byproducts of this lightness, and there are those who are actually forced here in a manner that, think about it this, you have an inverted plane here, then you have an inverted plane here. You can stay in existence. Have you ever seen any of the videos? You can see them on YouTube, in which they bring in the back rooms, and it's this environment where you get dropped into another dimension, and there's nothing but rooms.
Oh, wow.
And it's really bizarre. Go and check it out. Go into the back rooms. My point is this: darkness is the original of everything. And many of us who have fallen through into this realm, this is what we're trying to escape from, is this construct of light. Because to us, light it's artificial in its creation. It has a different impact on what it does to life, the essences of life. And apparently there are those of this constructed realm called light who are trapped into the dark realm.
Yeah.
So just a theory. I'm not saying.
It's so funny to say. It's kind of what I was going to, when it was in the last conversation, it was like, you will forget who you are and you will give them control over your avatar willingly. This is the straw man, the scarecrow stuff, learning about that whole system, the capital letters and all that. That's what they're saying. It's like you will give them control of your avatar willingly. You will think it is the right way due to the thing called society, the things that form our belief systems. We get compliant into these systems because we think it's the right thing to do. So this is how we give up our power. It says you will lose your connection to your divine self through the splitting of things, the physical from the spiritual. That's why we're placed within a dome. It keeps them separate, spiritual and physical planes separate from each other. And it says you will split into two. So from the one, you will become the split, the divine self, and then the body, ego, or soul construct. That's the split. You get that split of your brain. It's in your brain. It's in your consciousness. And then the battle will be a tug of war between the flesh and the spirit. And that's going to be the battle. And the tricks will keep you from your divine essence. It will keep you from remembering your awareness of what you really are.
From a clinical definition, what you've just described is a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah.
I just got a problem, Trina, it can't, I know. And listen, it's messed up. I mean, that's why we have these conversations, because we're trying to seek out, this is where religion is the big trap. This is where politics, this is where philosophy is the big trap, is that in all of this, and someone said, Jason Archek, I've listened to some of it, and it's interesting, but I'm still here questioning, all right, it doesn't seem that any of us, and let's just go back 1,000 years, that would put probably what? I'm figuring 15, 20 billion, supposedly, if you add all the souls between then and now. And we still can't seem to find the substantive proof of anything of us prior to coming into this thing we call life.
Other than when you get into the subconscious mind and it has all this information you have no awareness of, it's all there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through with a regression therapy, because I think at this point I'm pretty well now open to the fact that, whatever the door that is closed to the conscious mind where memories are associated, I do believe that we each individually with a guide can open those doors and allow the memory.
That's what I do. And go to the in-between lives.
Yeah. I mean,
go to the space in between. So experience what's
there has to be an observation deck. I can only imagine if time is what we view time to be, because time is right now, you and I are dead. We are ghosts. We're going to be talking tomorrow about that a little bit more, because even though we're planning for the future, it's already the past. So if I can separate myself from this level, right, and stand up here as an observer, then I have to ask myself, all right, so what's going on here?
It's a game changer.
Well, it is that. So are there others? We only can relate to physicality to what we've experienced, but I've been on trips, through natural and through chemically enhanced, that took me places way beyond my body.
Correct.
I met beings up there. I mean, there, I don't know where the hell it would be.
It's some other dimension. Who knows? I don't
know.
Right. I guess
I know this, that, that a great deal of people who I don't know if it's part of the blessing or the curse of long life. As one person, I think she was 107. She said, "Let me tell you something about old age." She says, "It sucks." And she said, that's what she said. And she said, "All my friends are dead." Yes. And she said, "And here lately," she says, "those friends are coming in and visiting me." Well, she passed over less than about a week later.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if her friends are coming to visit her, well, then what's really going on here?
Right. That's what I mean. We are, when we come into this experiment of whatever it is, because whatever it is, it's a shit show. But
it's definitely weird.
It is.
It is.
But remember when I told you I had the vision of coming into before when I was up planning my incarnation, and I remembered all that stuff, and I didn't have that vision until I went to Sweeha and was learning how to do ear protocols, which supposedly bring you to future, but I went to the past. So I went to right before I came into this planet with this body, with my current mom. And that never happened before. So when that all happened, I knew it solidified all the visions I had when I was a child, when I could just hang out in this higher realm and get all this information from these higher level beings. And I was like, there's something to this. It's real. So there is much more to us than we're aware, and most of it is in the subconscious. And then when I started doing the subconscious mind work, the quantum healing work, holy macaroni, wow, we all see a lot of the same stuff. So that again
it's interesting when you speak about as your childhood, because although portions of mine were, I always use the metaphor, the leave it to beaver, perceived what was supposed to be a normal childhood. Yeah. But mine quickly became anything but that. In fact, it became one, a journey of survival, literally. Two, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of hard physical work. I can go through these things, but yet I can sit here today and say, actually, it wasn't that bad. I'm glad. And somehow this thing called karma, this thing called life, allowed me to have, in exchange for that, and that's the only thing I can think of, one of the best adventures and the best of time to be on your own. So, yeah, I mean, so was this part of the conversation I had with myself? And that, listen, Wayne, and that then says, can we actually see the future before we come into our present?
It's so, when you were saying that, I just literally heard you gave creation a memory data bank of how to heal broken love. Like,
oh yeah,
it couldn't fathom how to hurt a child, and for you to be harmed as a child and know how to heal through that. See, that's the antivirus, Wayne. You're the antivirus.
It's interesting. You just
it out.
Took me back to a time, and I'm back there. Wow, and this was in January, 1967, and it was one of the last beatings I had got. But both my arms were broke, and part of my lower back. But I remember sitting on this porch, and I'm having a conversation with myself right now. And I knew, you see, hate never entered in. It just didn't enter in to my consciousness. But what did enter in was that I knew something better was coming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's a kid who, was just.
You were talking to yourself.
I was.
See
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
See there? It's yourself. You were talking to your higher self, and your higher self was like, you wait, we're going to get through this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You wait. Good things are coming. You wait. It's gonna be okay.
Of all adventures. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ego beats your ass, but then the spirit, that's your consciousness. That's your Jiminy Cricket. That's the
well, and that implies that there is this duality of eternity.
Oh, yeah. Well, only in the
physical. Yeah.
Only in the physical and
hey, Jargo.
Yeah. I think soul, when you're still encapsulated in your soul construct, you're still in the separate form of thinking you're this thing. That's still in the separation part of it. But once you get to the higher parts of it, you lose that construct. It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gone. The duality is gone. There is no more hot, cold, black, white, yes, no division. No, you're all of it.
Musgrave Griffin says, been there, done that. Many of us have.
Yeah.
This group is an eclectic collection of diverse spirit beings. I mean,
Rebel genes, Wayne. Rebel
rebels.
Genes, baby.
That is so true.
Yeah. No, we won't. We will fight till the end. We will remember, dang it. We're gonna
And,
do it.
I think that that's the thing that carries us, it is,
Yeah.
as I used to say, the expression, those experiences are what gives our wings lift,
You know,
because you're going to either sink down or you're going to rise above it.
in that conversation, it
With
said,
self?
no, the one about the
Oh,
one we were, the conversation before you were born.
yeah.
They were talking about how, he was viewing the earth. He was like, it's a shit show. Why don't you just get rid of it? Remember, I said that too. It's a shit show. You need to blow it up right now. He's like, no. And remember, he said the same thing that I was told, that because of us being able to go into evil and darkness, we are teaching source creator so much about something it has no knowledge of.
So
And
it would
not only,
not be omnipotent.
well, it is omnipotent, but it's benevolent and love. So it's never been infected with darkness and evil. It's just didn't exist. It's all, there's no duality. There's no dark and light, Wayne. There's no duality. It's so hard to
Mhm.
wrap our, we don't understand this anymore. We forgot. It's
As a
against every,
species, we apparently have forgotten a lot. I
correct.
mean,
Bingo.
holy crap. I
That's
mean,
what they said the trick would be. We would forget what we, all of it. We forget it all. Gone.
you look at today and you apply what we're talking about onto the world stage, Biden, Putin,
Yeah.
Ukraine, Europe. I mean, all of this turmoil that is taking place in the world today. And here's the challenge I've put out to the spirits, so if I have the ability to foresee into the future, why the hell is no one giving out the alarm? Why isn't anyone out there saying, "Hey, folks, this is coming," and and here's my dilemma, because we always seem to be reactionary instead of pro action.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people right now are prepping and doing those things that they feel are necessary, because a lot
Yeah,
of
but I
people
can walk
do.
up to any roulette table and put down either red or black. I get that, but I want to know specifically what's the number, or at least give me a or give me a number close to that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what I'm perceiving every day, and I get all the the journals that come out, and and I'm going, yeah, there is something that is not pretty. And
Yeah.
it's happening as you and I speak. I love this group because this is a group that there's a certain refuge in a group like this.
Yeah.
It allows us to we may not be able to physically connect,
Mhm.
but yet we know, like you were saying, we know that there's something that connects us
It's
even
our
more
heart.
so. Yeah.
It's our hearts. That's the true, that's your higher self. It's your heart, your gut.
Hmm.
The mind is dual. So if you want to really tune in, you got to go to your heart and your gut, because those are the internal workings of you. That's where you get those subtle nudges. The brain is, that can get you into some loops. You got to go back in deeper, get into your gut, into your heart. There's where you're going to find your best wisdom for yourself.
Yeah, Scotty Boy says we're like a wrecking salvage crew.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So Scotty Boy, do we get the salvage rights? That's what I want to know. We can,
Mhm.
go like a Mel Fisher, who,
Explain, I've always heard that, you came here to be the antivirus. And it was
yeah,
because
yeah.
we wouldn't comply to the systems without going, what are these systems? Everything, we question everything. Remember, I was called the why girl, everything,
Hmm.
why, that's what we are. That's why there's not many of us that have this kind of consciousness, but it's because of what we are. It was how our essence was birthed out of source. We got that Y button, and we got the rebel gene, and we got the ain't having it situation going on in our personality. A little bit of arrogance, a little bit of self-confidence, to the extreme.
So would you say then that it's interesting when you brought up the word preppers, preparing, and the thought just occurred to me. So if you're a prepper, what you're basically saying is that you're waving the white flag. What you're saying that we can't do anything to stop this. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare and be able to write it out the best way I can. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that type of thinking. I get it. But boy, doesn't it drive back the point then? Well, all the prayers to God isn't doing anything. Why? Well, God has already said how it's going to end.
Right.
It ain't pretty.
What if we can rewrite the script?
That's my point. Why? And why aren't we doing it? I mean,
I think we are. I really do, Wayne. I really
well,
do.
tell those people, that, are in the middle of that war, what's happening for them. And for Europe, it's going to get apparently brutally cold because of this geopolitics. That's my point. Why is it that we seem to be so ineffective in affecting world change, or at least finding leaders that would represent more of our view, our perceived idea of reality?
I just think it's because the people at the very, very top have controlled by fear for a very long time.
Fear. And that so I'm cooking this morning, getting everything ready, and then because I have this list of things I have to do. And it's interesting because the thought hit me. Paul wrote, to be in the presence of the Lord is a very fearful and terrible thing. And because I'm thinking about this fear thing. And I said, well, why? Why would you need a God where you're afraid of it? Because that sets the whole narrative.
And that's the whole point, was that you don't remember that you're more powerful than that thing that's standing in front of you, because here it's a hologram.
Yeah. I mean,
once you remember that you're real, game over.
I mean, they get that whole thing is then what's real, as Morpheus tells, says, well, so is feeling something real? Does the air that you breathe, is that really what you're doing? It comes down to the 3-2. You've got 3 chemical stimulations and 2 electrical, and that's reality. The brain processes through chemical reaction.
All of it's atomic, all of it's atom, all of it. The dipole, the atom, it's all there. It's you're right.
You talk about smell. So in the paranormal thing is that, as I've gotten the equipment, getting more familiar with it, there are certain, for instance, Lynn's dad used to smoke cigars. Now, she hates that smell. None of us smoke, but there have been instances of where we both have smelt cigar smoke.
Yep.
There was a particular perfume that her mother wore that subsequently I can remember my mother wearing.
Oh, wow.
And we both have smelt that.
Wow.
So it's interesting because now what it implies that even the sensation of smell, which we think is more through the ortho part of our, the olfactory part of our nose, that apparently we carry our natural smell with us. Isn't that interesting?
I think it's frequencies.
Yeah.
Because frequencies produce material realm. So frequency. So those vibrations, you hold those vibrations, and you can.
But the physical smell aspect of it, I mean, now that is something that to me is evidence of transference of this dimension into the next dimension, which tells me that, again, I read in the comments section, someone said, I don't know if it was a friend or their father or whatever, who was passing, and he's saying, I'm not dead. But he, and I've heard that many times, that there are those who cross over, sometimes, like we said, very suddenly, that they really are. They don't. So that tells you that there's something over there that mirrors this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it has to, Wayne, because so many souls, when they first die, they don't know they're dead.
Yeah.
They're still here. They're still standing on the same frequency. And maybe that's it. After you drop your body, it takes a little bit for your signature to change from the physical body to the more spiritual body. And that probably is I have a feeling it's a 3-day transition.
Well, and there's a lot of religions are based on that. A lot of other traditions are based on the same idea. The thing that always gets me, we talk about the 3 days, but this Jesus character, it was never 3 days. And it's so weird. If he was crucified on Friday and resurrected Sunday morning, right. How the hell did that happen? But right. Anyway, I digress.
What I think, the 3 days, I don't know why. I think it's a 72-hour window, and I think it's so it has something to do with the sun and the moon, and when you don't have your physical body, you don't connect to those in the physical realm anymore, and it changes you through this motion of the cycle, and then boom, then you're more connected to the spiritual body than the physical body. And I think that's why a lot of people, their souls stick around here for a little bit until they can make that transfer.
They say that each of us get to see our own funeral.
I've heard that a lot of times.
Then that's where that residual energy comes. You're on the highway and you see a cross, which is signet that someone has died there. Yep. Now, if you did a paranormal session, could you capture what they would call that residual energy of their passing? And that's where a lot of people do get caught into that. It's and then there are those who I have the one video that showed at the moment of apparently the mother and the 2 daughters died in this car wreck in Georgia, that the mom died first, and you could see her essence go above right about tree level. Yep. And then she is joined first by one little light that comes up, and the little light is actually reaching for what was her sister. She was reaching for her sister.
Oh, wow.
And when all 3 gathered, then they went straight up. Yeah.
Off they went. I've heard of that, and I've seen different stuff. And, weird thing was sometimes they don't go up, though, because like we own wrecking yards my whole life. So we were around cars where people died every day. We would get 225 cars just on the weekend on one lot. So we had a lot of them. So, and a lot of them had to go into special impound lots and stuff because they were under investigation and stuff. But yeah, a lot of things would follow my dad home because of his light.
Someone said, we must remember history, his story. Just someone's written statement doesn't mean it's true. Bingo. That's the problem with everything that we have. As I have said before, no God has ever physically manifested before humanity.
And his story.
But yet, man, how many people have died in the name of these invisible gods? I mean,
and Wayne, history is based on somebody.
Her story. How would that be with her? Her story?
And think about it. Everybody's writing down what they think or what they saw. So it's coming from somebody's perception. You can have a car accident with 20 different people, and they will all give a different testimony of what they saw. So none of it could be right and none of it can be wrong. It's just a matter of people writing down the information through the perspective or the perception they held of that thought or that moment or that event. So we need to stop dividing and saying what's right, what's wrong. We need to gather as much as we can of the information so we can make sense of our world. But the details That's where it's going to cause people to divide, just like the flat, round earth thing. It's like, you both are right. It's like, why can't we stop fighting? We need to look at both perceptions are going to be
It's something
accurate.
that none of us will ever see. Streetwise Spirituality UK, how are you doing?
Oh yeah,
Said
and
check
that's
out.
just a hot topic for the consciousness. I don't know why it is so powerful. Why is that
It's,
so powerful? I can't understand.
again, it's this whole thing. So, if you look at a telescope, and I do, all
Uh-huh.
I'm seeing is
Round,
basically
round,
the
round, round, round.
round and a flat plane. That's all I'm seeing. But there is a spinning, which now we know that spinning has nothing to do with gravity. But
Yeah.
and you can get so wrapped up into that. I kind of
That's
figure
what
it's
I
like
mean. And I
this.
think it's the biggest new psyop to divide us. It's
Yeah.
really,
Hey,
it's
David
the what,
Barry, how are
but
you doing,
damn,
brother?
Wayne, why is it so freaking powerful? You know
I
what I
don't
think it is?
know.
I've been asking myself this for a while. And the only answer I can come up with is the flat earth is our ancient belief system and the round earth is our current belief system. And that's why these are ancient belief systems colliding against each other. I think that might be what it is, because this is a deep rooted trigger for millions and millions and millions of people, millions. So I've always been trying to understand it. I'm like, wow, it's so powerful. How come? It has to be. It's super, super anchored in our
I
religion.
don't, people try to sometimes bait me in that because, I was really heavy into the Nibiru thing and what have you.
Yeah.
And it became basically a dog chasing its tail
Wayne,
because, it's just, and I just said, if this is true, if all of this is going to happen, then the end result is a lot of humans are going to die. I left religion because in every one of their stories, before the savior comes, a lot of people going to die.
what's interesting? I've been following the Galactic Federation of Light since 1989. And every time for all these years, every new 10 years, oh, it's going to happen this time. Never does. 10 years go by again. Oh, it's going to happen now. The ships are going to come. They're going to pick you up. This never does. It's like, oh my God. I've been watching people get. I mean, I started way back with Sheldon Neidl, if anybody even knows what that name is. It's a long while back. So these are psyops, all of it. And even in the conversation, he talked about how the newest ploy to distract and deceive and harvest and harness the soul energy from humanity is to convince them that they're going to be going to new planets off world when we're in a containment system. Okay, really? Okay, so first of all,
That's intelligence.
But the thing that blew me away, because I know this is true, it said, but because we believe it, it will manifest. Oh shit.
Hey,
And it already
Cheryl.
did. It already did. So I know this is true, and I know it's already been done, but it wasn't done until we made it. We made it.
And it seems that once again, we get back to the fact as us as a species, either we're the joke, the ass end of the joke for the universe, or we are the epitome of manifestors. And because again, all of these spirits are always jerking us off. I mean, we don't get it's I get so frustrated with it because I can look at 2000 years in the modern era and I cannot show you one good thing that has ever come from religion, one good thing that's really come from philosophy, one good thing that's come from politics. I'm looking at here, and it's much like with Ryder Lee when I was on his show over the weekend. We can't all be happy at the same time. We have this inability to agree, to be in unity. We've never been in unity, and I'm thinking, if a species has never been in unity, why don't we just stop everything in the world and say, wait a minute, there's something fundamentally wrong here.
Right. they've used the strongest point of this creation, which is the division of our mind, as
Yeah.
its strongest tool against us to keep us
Yeah.
divided. But when we unify our own mind, that's we win. Game over.
And then the master says, a house divided against itself cannot stand.
True.
Yeah, those are very true and wise words. Same thing
Blow
with
the
a
shit up,
marriage.
Wayne.
And
Like, this ain't our house.
so if that idiom is true, then the human race is screwed.
Potentially. Yeah.
And so we talk about the future. If we've had this conversation with ourselves coming in here, what was it that were we warning ourselves? Were we trying to give some advice, kind of pass along encouragement? I mean, wow, because the hippies, the baby boomers, we screwed it up. We thought that we really found this enlightenment in love, and look at the world today. It's an ugly place.
You know what, though? But to me, that's evidence that you did win.
And how's that? It's interesting.
Because the darkness had to equal the cause and effect, the laws of the universe, cause and effect. You guys produced a massive effect, and they produced a massive effect of darkness retaliating back at equal opposite, and then freaking out because of what you did and getting a little more aggressive.
It's interesting because, I went to a number of rock festivals, and I don't ever remember anyone being robbed, anyone sexually harassed. What I do remember is seeing some great music, and there were always the individual campfires, and we would have people coming in and out, and if you had a libation, it would be shared. If you had a joint, it would be shared. And you could walk during the early morning hours, and there was lovemaking taking place everywhere. In the morning, you would see people coming together and fixing breakfast, and I didn't find anything wrong with that. It was sad when it came to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
what I mean. I really do. I think it was a profound effect, and I do think that's why we saw such a powerful pushback. I really do. I absolutely see that was one of the critical moments in where we actually started to go back into unity. That was it.
As I was talking about that, I hitchhiked across the United States, and in Texas, right outside San Antonio, we were hitchhiking. I was hitchhiking with a guy, James. And anyway, the Texas Department of Highway Safety, that's their highway patrol, came up. Mm-hmm. Now, I had hair that was down the middle of my back. I had it into a ponytail, and we had these backpacks. And these two cops come up, and they told us to put the backpacks in their car. Anyway, they took us to an overpass, gave us water, and said that they would come back through in a couple hours. And, which blew my mind. I mean, it's like, holy crap, what just happened here? But, it was kind of that spirit, that essence of the time. But I digress.
Absolutely. That's what I said. It really did have a huge, I mean, you could see it. You could see it in the world. Yeah. And like I said, I think after that, Wayne, because they literally, that was a ceremony to separate you all. And even the way they reversed the ruin of alges and turned it into the peace symbol. Mm-hmm. Reverse alges, that means you're cut off from your connection to God. You're cut off from source, because alges is the antenna of God. So they tried to black magic y'all, and you just broke that shit apart and flipped it back and turned it into love. You did the impossible with energy things. And then 9/11 was another big energy signature from the planet. These are massively monumental, iconic moments in history for us.
Well, I know personally, I had a few monumental moments. I'll have to talk about that sometime. That trip, particularly the going out to the West Coast, holy crap, we were picked up by some gentlemen of the southern border, and they had no doubts they were going to kill us. But it was amazing what happened. I mean, yeah. So, all right, everybody.
Story, Wayne. That's an amazing story.
Ah, yes, yes.
You might want to share that one because it's pretty phenomenal if people haven't heard it.
Yeah, it's wow. It goes. That's when I knew. But I had been told previous that there are. You can say your higher self. You can call spiritual guardians, but they exist.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're sealed.
Love you too, baby. Love you too, baby. It's all
and
right.
You're sealed, Wayne. That
I am.
The thing that freaked me out when you said that, because I've heard that about me too.
Yeah.
And I saw something try to come at me, and it was like it hit a freaking wall. And
they
said it was because you're sealed. You got that. That is amazing. So there is something, but you know what? I wonder if we earned that.
I don't know, but I do remember the dude. I mean, yeah. Said it was right here. Here.
But it went right from my third eye, and it couldn't.
Yeah.
That's what that's why I was like, oh wow, Wayne.
Yeah. I can still see his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't touch him.
Yeah.
Yep, you can't touch him.
He's sealed, man. He's sealed.
That's
what can you say?
You can't touch him. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Floyd says when you're hitchhiking, you learn real fast how to protect yourself. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I wonder what would have happened to him if he did.
I don't know.
I wonder.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder.
And tell you what it's and as Leonard Skinner, he says it ain't no fun looking down a 44. And you can tell you, I know there ain't no fun looking down a 357. I know that's for sure. But yeah. Excuse me. But anyway, we got to go, folks. Yep. I love you. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for hitting the like button, and make sure to get over there and support Trina and her channel. And Trina, always a lot of fun.
Always, my friend.
All right, folks.
To you, Bosto, to you all, be of service to others. That's how we're going to get things done, is working together and loving our brethren.
I love y'all. Mary, we love you, darling. And Ginger, good to see y'all. So everybody, love one another. And it's the only way to make it. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Peace. All right. Much love, folks. See y'all tomorrow.